I am in a horrible reading slump currently. I was, so hopeful going to the start of this year. I was like, yes, I'm gonna read 10 books every single month. Well, I let that enthusiasm carry me into a 24-hour readathon, and after reading like 5 books in the span of 24 hours straight, no sleeping, I fear I'm a little burnt out, but do not fear. Even though I have only read 7 books this year, it is now March 9th. I'm always hesitant to like say the date it is in my videos because then you look at like when it's published and you're like, girl, why is it 6 months later? But it is currently March 9th and I haven't read a book in well over a month. And the book I did read, I was like crawling in the mud to get to the end of that book. So my goal by the end of this video is to actively want to reach for books, be so enthusiastic about starting a new one and finishing the one I'm currently reading, or like so excited to even like shop for books, And so that is why today I'm gonna be trying the most popular tips for getting out of a book slump. And not only do I want to be able to read more books, I want to also read them in a timely manner. So without further ado, let's get straight into the first tip I'm going to be trying. The first tip I have seen all over TikTok, all over YouTube through my research is try a different genre. The book I'm going to be reading is Dungeon Crawler Carl. I've actually seen so many great things about this book recently, so I'm kind of excited to begin reading it, which is a very good sign. But just before this video actually, I searched up what genre it is because I know it's not technically like classified as fantasy, and this book is classified as lit RPG. And I was honestly kind of confused as to what that even is. Like, is it not just fantasy? And according to Google, lit RPG blends science fantasy, action adventure, and dystopian humor, but by featuring gamified elements like characters, levels, stats, and inventory menus. In this book specifically, it focuses on a post-apocalyptic, televised, alien-run dungeon crawl, which sounds super interesting. So basically, the world is wiped out, some people survive, and those people that survive are put into like a game show that's run by aliens. So that sounds super interesting. And reading this description online, it kind of reminds me of, if you've read or watched Solo Leveling, that is one of my favorite series of all time. I love Solo Leveling with my whole heart. If this book is anything like that at all, I just know I'm going to love it so much. So yeah, that was a lot of talking, but let's finally start the video and begin our first book and first tip. Bro, this is exactly like Solo Leveling. Like, there's menus, he's getting achievements for like entering the dungeon that the aliens have created. There's like, he has 5 days basically to get down to the next level, but he has to find the entrance, and there's like less and less entrances as he goes on. And like, he has like player stats, even the cat has player stats. And it's so cool, like he's getting like rewards and achievements. Guys, I really have high hopes for this book. And we are back. It is now 2 days later from when I last spoke to you, but that sounds worse than it actually is because I was just super busy yesterday and I wasn't able to read. I actually really wanted to though, so I think that's a good sign. But today I was able to read a little bit more during some downtime. I'm now on page 103, which is like about 20% through the book. One thing I like about it in particular is like the narrator, not the narrator, like the alien that like reads out the rewards is very witty and strange and makes interesting comments. And then also he has like a weird obsession with Carl's feet, his bare feet in particular. Killing with your bare feet, your bare, beautiful feet, taking your bare foot, placing it on top of a living, conscious life, and then pressing lovingly down until that life ceases to be. Is there a more noble way to kill? It is kind of late. It's 11:17 p.m. so I'm probably not going to read much tonight, but I do want to try to read like little bits. I feel like another tip that we're kind of trying out by doing this is reading a little bit each day. It doesn't even have to be like a bunch of pages, right? But even reading like 5 pages or one chapter can get you back into like the mindset of reading. And then once you read one chapter, you're like, okay, maybe one more. So let's see if that works in addition to switching up the genre. So yes, let's read for I don't know how long, but we're starting on page 103. Please excuse my appearance. I know I look a little bit horrid right now, and that's because I just got back from the pool actually. It was a very, very nice and sunny and kind of warm day outside, and like the UV was higher than usual, so I decided to go to the pool and read. But on the downside, it is approximately 3 days later since I filmed the last clip, which means it has now been 5 days since I started reading Dungeon Crawler Carl, and guys, I think I'm still in the reading slump. So by the pool, I was able to read like 80 pages, which is pretty good. So I'm now halfway through the book. I'm on page 203, chapter 26. And the thing about this book is like, it's fast-paced, it's interesting. I am able to read a lot of it in one sitting without getting like tired too quickly. But I just feel so strangely disconnected to the book, and I think that's because I am in the reading slump. Like, by disconnected, I mean that when I'm reading, I'm aware that I'm just like reading words on paper, and I'm kind of just like, okay, I need to reach this goal, I need to reach this goal, I need to reach this goal. So like when I was by the pool, started on page 120, and then I was like, okay, my goal is 150, 175, 200, but I kept on being like, okay, how many pages left, how many pages left, you know? So that is not necessarily a great thing, even though I would say I'm like enjoying this book. Ideally, it's now Saturday. I started the book on Monday, and I do really want to finish it by Monday. So let's see how much more I can read today. I think my goal is maybe like another 50 pages if possible. I feel like that would put me at a pretty good spot for tomorrow. So yeah, that being said, let's get reading. Also, they're still on the first level of the dungeon, and I'm like, dang, like let's pick up the pace. I wanna get down. Okay, it is officially the next day, so I guess day 6 of reading this book, and yesterday I actually read more than I expected to, so I'm now, oh, this book is upside down. So now I have this much left of the book, so about 150, maybe a little bit less than that, pages. So yesterday I read 200 pages, which is really good. The goal is to finish it today. It is already 5 p.m, so we'll see if that happens. One thing I wanted to say is like I only have 150 pages left, but they're still only on floor 2 of the crawl, and I thought they'd be like done with the dungeon by the end of the book, so that's definitely a big shock. Like, it's fast-paced but also very slow. Bruh, you're just not gonna tell me? What? The book is done. I finished it. Wow. I did finish the book today, so day 6. But I don't know. Am I out of reading slump? I'm not sure. But I do think this book was pretty solid. Like, I'm definitely going to be reading the next book. In fact, I already tried to look at it on Amazon, but it was freaking so expensive for some reason, so I'm probably just gonna go to Barnes & Noble tomorrow or something and get the next one. But I'm not like jumping to continue the series. I don't know, this book just isn't like, I don't know, it's just not what I expected, in the sense that like I didn't expect it to be so slow. It's not even slow, but I expected it to be kind of like the Hunger Games, like each book you go through an entire game, you know? But in this book we only went through 2 floors of the dungeon, which is crazy because there's, as far as we know, at least 18 floors. But when I was looking on Amazon, I saw that there was 8 books in this series, so I guess that checks out. But definitely going to keep reading it. However, I don't think I am out of my reading slump yet, so I will see you tomorrow to give you my final thoughts on Dungeon Crawler Carl and to move on to the next book slump tip that will hopefully help me out. Hello, I am back to give my final thoughts over Dungeon Crawler Carl. However, it has been 3 days since I last spoke to you because I have been feeling very extremely sick, and honestly I still am, but today I worked up the effort to at least look a little bit put together so I can give you my thoughts on the book and hopefully move on to another book. So if I throw up on camera, I'm so sorry. I think I'm going to probably rate this book a solid 4 stars. I did think I was gonna rate it a lot higher than that. Like I thought for sure this was gonna be a 5-star, maybe even 6-star read, just because of how much I love, like, just because I had like such high expectations going into it. But I would still say it was pretty good. I think the only downfall of this book is that for some reason, like, me and Carl, we were not connecting, bro. Like, I just felt like I was kind of detached from him and kind of all the characters throughout this whole book. Like, I felt like I was kind of just an alien watching and not actually in Carl's POV. And so just because of that, I felt like I was never truly in the story. And also, I don't know, I felt like maybe it could have been like my issue, but I wasn't able to really like visualize a lot of it. I feel like it was a little bit too outlandish sometimes, and I'm like, wait, what am I supposed to be envisioning? I was okay, like trolls, goblins, what the hell is a Karen Kraken? Okay, maybe that. Like, I was doing my best, but it was taking lots of effort to visualize, so at some points I just kind of turned my brain off and was like reading, and so that was probably another reason why it wasn't as highly rated. But I do have the next book already. Like, I definitely want to continue the series, but this book I would say probably did not get me out of my reading slump, but do not fear, we do have lots more tips we could potentially try, and I think this next tip is going to be especially good for me considering I do feel a little bit sick right now. But let's go ahead and move swiftly on to tip number 2. Alright, so tip number 2, book number 2. This tip, I feel like you've probably seen everywhere, but that is just to simply read a very fast-paced book, and by doing that I'm going to be reading a thriller, specifically a Frida McFadden thriller. But even more than just reading a thriller, I'm going to be reading a thriller on my Kindle, and this brings us to tip number 3, which is switching reading formats. So essentially, if you're reading like a paperback, switch to a Kindle, or if you're reading a Kindle, switch to a paperback, or even just like the difference between a paperback and hard copy, or like listen to an audiobook and try to do something else. So the book I'm going to be reading is Never Lie by Frida McFadden. It sounds interesting. I have seen it. I was like scrolling on Book Talk to try to find a fast-paced book recommendation, and this is probably the book that I saw most frequently, and it seems to be about like a man and a woman who get like snowed into this cabin that belonged to this psychiatrist that like tragically died. However, as the wife is kind of like snooping around through the house, she finds a bunch of like tapes of the psychiatrist's past patients, and then she begins to watch them and some crazy things kind of unfold. And so I'm excited. Let's see how long this book is. So it's 335 pages. I am really not feeling the best, like I said. Very, very woozy and nauseous, but we'll see how much I'm able to read. Like I said, because it is a couple days later since I now finished Dungeon Crawler Carl, we are now on day 9 of trying to get out of a book slump. So Let's see how long this takes me to read, but let's get to reading Never Lie by Frida McFadden on my Kindle. Are you kidding me? Like, this is so freaking obvious. Oh my god, this is so freaking annoying. Okay, well, I just got through chapter 16 of the book, page 104. It says I'm 30% through, which is pretty good for like one day. Yeah, so far I've been, obviously because it's a thriller, I've been trying to like guess what's happening beforehand, and I swear to god, I'm pretty sure this one thing is meant to be super obvious, but like if it's not, then, and that's like the main plot twist, I'm gonna be like so mad. But I do think it's probably not the main plot twist, but yeah, I kind of guessed that one thing right before it was revealed-ish, but yeah, only 104 pages in, so we have, this book's not very long, like I said, it's like 334 pages, so about 200 pages left. It is now almost 9 p.m. at night. I'm still not feeling the best, but if I could read maybe like 50 more pages and get halfway through the book, that would be really good. Bro, for some reason talking is like unbearable. It's like my voice is reverberating throughout my skull and I sound so loud and it's so like disorientating. Is this the end? But no, this is not the end. I'm gonna go take off my makeup, read a little bit more in bed, and then go to sleep. And hopefully tomorrow I'm feeling better and I can read more of the book. And we are back again. It is the next day. Oh my gosh! I am approximately 67% through the book. I'm on page 230, chapter 37. It is officially day 10 of trying to get out of this book slump. And honestly, this book, man, it's so stupid. It's so stupid. Like, the whole reason the plot even exists is because she just like, it's gonna be out of context, so I'm just gonna tell you. It's because she like got upset that somebody took her parking spot, and so now this is happening and then this is happening now because that happened, this is happening, and it's, oh my god. And then like the present timeline, it's like so obvious, and I'm like, bro, how can our main character be this freaking stupid or oblivious? Or you know what, maybe that's not even the plot twist. But then I'm like, okay, so if that's not the plot twist, then why would the author even write it this way? Because all it's making me feel is annoyed at the main character. And I know I'm speaking in a bunch of riddles because I just like don't want to tell you what the plot is actually about in case you want to read it, but just know I'm very frustrated. Also, I'm like on page 230, 67% through, and I feel like nothing has happened. And I'm like, how am I this close to the end? Am I actually that far through? But it is now 8 p.m. on day 10, and like the goal was to finish this book today. I don't know if that's gonna happen, but I do feel like we could get pretty close. I mean, I only have like 100 pages left, so we can try. I'll see what we can do. Oh, okay. What? What? Okay. Well, I just got to chapter 46, 82% through the book, and a reveal finally happened, and wow. Bro, this feels like, I can't even tell this is like a good reveal or not. That's so fucking, it's so stupid. It's so like laughable. book is so freaking stupid. You know what? I bet you, I know what's gonna happen. Brother. Well, I finished the book. That can't be real, bro. You know those stories that like we are supposed to write in elementary school? Like murder mystery, and then like the end is just like, and then I woke up. And then it was all a dream. It kind of feels like that, except it's not like that. This didn't feel real. This book's not real. This book's not real, bro. What? Okay, let's go to Goodreads. Let's see what Goodreads is thinking. Oh my gosh, what? All my friends on Goodreads are rating it 4 or 5 stars. Holy moly. Okay, I hate to say this, but I think I disagree. Exactly. Okay, so this person said, a book that could have been so good if the author wasn't desperate to throw in a twist that absolutely nobody could guess. The only problem is, no one guessed it because it made no sense. Makes me feel like I just wasted my time reading this. And I agree, I was waiting for something so great. Enough with reading reviews on Goodreads. Let me give you my own review about Never Lie by Frida McFadden. Oh my gosh. This book just made like no sense to me. It was just like, I had a bunch, like I was invested because I had a bunch of my own theories, but then all my own theories were thrown away by a random twist that actually made no sense. Like if I reread this book knowing the twist, it would make no sense to me. And the whole time, like, she's writing this book to make us suspicious of this one person, but then in reality, it just like nothing came of it. And then like at the end, she was just throwing thing after thing after thing at you just to like constantly give that shock factor. But then after a certain point, you're kind of like, okay, that's enough. It's kind of getting unrealistic. Like obviously it's a thriller, it's not meant to be like super realistic, but like what are the odds? Genuinely, what are the odds of this? It just like takes you out of the story. At this point, it feels like juvenile. Like honestly, I think if she stuck with the plot twist that like she was kind of leading the readers to believe was the plot twist, it could have even been like a better book than what the actual plot twist was. But to get out of a reading slump, you also don't necessarily have to love the book you read to get out of it. And I feel like this book honestly really helped with my reading slump because it was super fast paced. I got the satisfaction of like finishing a book. I get the satisfaction of rating it on Goodreads, and now I get the satisfaction of getting to pick another book. And I'm actually kind of like excited to pick up another book because I'm excited for the next tip I have. So yeah, definitely successful tips, but I'm very excited for this next tip. So let's quickly move on and get into the hopefully last tip of this video. And now for the 4th tip that I saved for last because I feel like it has the highest chance of getting me out of this book slump. And so the 4th and hopefully final tip is to reread a 5-star read. And I am very excited for this one because I have been looking for an excuse to reread this book for so long, because not only is the book I'm about to show you a 5-star read, but it is a 6-star read, one of my favorite books of all time, and that book is If We Were Villains by M.L. Rio. I think I read this book in 2024. Yeah, I think it was 2024, maybe 2023, but I don't know. It's a little bit iffy. What I do know is that ever since I read it, I have been thinking about it non-stop. One of my other favorite reads is The Secret History, and this book is kind of labeled as The Secret History's like baby brother or baby sister. Essentially, we are in the perspective of a cop who is interviewing Oliver Marks, who is just being released from prison, and he says he's like finally ready to tell the full story of like how he ended up in jail and what happened. And then we jump back into Oliver's perspective. It's years ago now from when he was in college, and we are following him and his like, it says there were 7 of them, so yeah, him and his 6 other friends on their journey through theater and drama and the arts and Shakespeare. And somehow all that culminates into an event that puts Oliver in jail for so long. Very excited to jump back into this world. I don't know if I'm gonna start the book tonight. It is already kind of late and I still need to take a shower. and do one other thing I keep putting off. But yes, either way, it is definitely getting started tomorrow on day 11 of getting out of a book slump. So I will see you then for hopefully some updates about the book. Hello, welcome back once again. It is another 2 days later, so now we are on day 13 of the challenge. So we're almost 2 weeks in now, which I mean, I don't feel like it's horrible, but it's not great either. But we are still reading If We Were Villains, if you remember from 2 seconds ago. But I am now on page 120, but it is definitely a slower read than the past two, I would say. Just because it takes not like more brain power, but it's just like, I don't know, I'm reading it a little bit slower, but that's okay. Because one thing I've realized is that I've forgotten completely like everything leading up to the main plot point of the book. So it's kind of like I'm reading it again for the first time, but then like sometimes one sentence will make little things like pop out of my memory and I'm like, oh my gosh. So it's like reading this kind of just gives me like a giddy feeling, okay? But I do definitely have to be intentional about reading this book because for some reason it's not one that I'm like reaching to pick up, which is strange, but I think that is because there are a bunch of other books on my radar right now that like I do want to pick up and read, and that's I feel like a good sign that I am getting out of a reading slump because there are a bunch of other books on my like kind of nightstand right here and I really want to read them, including The Games Gods Play and then Carl's Doomsday Scenario, book 2, Dungeon Crawler Carl. And I actually did start this one today, but on audiobook. It's good, of course, but yes. Anyways, now let's get back to like what we're really meant to be focusing on, and that is If We Were Villains. Enough yapping. I really need to get back into reading this. Ideally, I get halfway through today, but I don't know if that's gonna happen. Same day, same spot, much later, and much further through the book, very, very surprisingly. For some reason, you know, I started reading from page 120 and now I'm on page 300 and I have exactly 50 pages left, so I mean, might as well finish the book, which is very, very surprising. I thought this would take me a really long time to read, but here we are. And yeah, I have this much left, 50 pages. Let's try to get it done. It is now 10 p.m. at night. So yes, let's get reading and finish this bad boy. I finished the book and my reaction to the ending is the exact same as it was the first time I read it. What does this mean? It's always Latin, and Latin always means something profound. Let's see. Oh, that's good. That's good. Man, I love this book. It's so freaking good. Oh my gosh. I wish I could be like as smart and freaking obnoxiously poetic and obsessed with Shakespeare as these characters, because I think that'd make my life a whole lot better and also a whole lot worse, but at least it'd be something interesting. But yeah, guys, I finished this book and it's kind of almost like I read it in like a single day too, which is crazy. So yeah, we're still on day 13 of the challenge-ish. 13 days to read 3 books. I feel like that's pretty good for me. But now I can update my Goodreads once again, and more importantly, begin the next book I want to read, which is why I finished this one so quickly. Of course, this book is getting, 5 stars. My rating's not gonna change. I think I enjoyed it a little bit less than the first time, but I still remember that first time reading it just being so absolutely like enamored with the story and just clinging on to every single line. again, and there are still just like moments like while I was reading just now where I had to like kind of take a second and just applaud ML Rio for how amazing hello, is there a picture of you anywhere? How amazing their writing is. Like, oh my gosh, like I strive to be as eloquent as ML Rio one day. But yeah, man, I love this book. I'll get it like tattooed on me. Oh, you know, like if you go to my YouTube logo or whatever, if you go to my YouTube channel page, the banner, it says per aspera ad astra, and I actually got that from this book when I read it so many years ago, so it must have been right before I started my YouTube channel, and that means, according to Oliver in this book, through the thorns to the stars. And I have loved that quote to this day. I almost forgot I got it from this book, but yeah, it's like the banner of my YouTube channel, so I guess that's kind of like the message of my life, and I got it from this book, which is crazy. But yeah, so I will be back tomorrow or whenever to give my final thoughts on my reading slump, but I feel like I can officially say, like, I'm out of a reading slump. And welcome back to the final updates, final thoughts, final conclusions to my reading slump journey. As a reminder, we tried 4 different tips and ended up reading 3 different books, which I feel like is pretty good. I was kind of worried I would need to read more books than 3, but you know, I think we did it. Like, honestly, I feel like I'm out of reading slump. I've already begun the 2nd book to Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm about to begin my next reading vlog, so let's try to hopefully keep those momentum going. But if not, at least I now know what tips work for me in the future. So as a reminder, the first tip was trying a different genre, and then we had switching reading formats and also reading a fast-paced book, and then our 4th and final tip was rereading an old 5-star book. And personally, I feel like the tip that worked best for me was honestly the very first one, trying a different genre, because prior to like starting filming for this video, I was like really like kind of dreading it. I was like, no, like I'm gonna have to actually read and, you know, hold myself accountable. But then right before I started filming, I searched up like what is lit RPG, and that genuinely made me super excited to go straight into Dungeon Crawler Carl, and that was probably like the best thing I could have done for myself, because I was like, I got so interested and invested and I hadn't even started the book. So I think that was the best tip that worked for me. Maybe second best one was just reading a very fast-paced book. I feel like the Frida McFadden thriller, even though I didn't necessarily enjoy it a whole lot, it definitely got me like in the reading mood, because I was like, okay, I just finished a book, now I'm finishing another one, and then I'm about to go straight into the next one. So that definitely helped me a lot. It's day 15 now, but you know, technically we finished the challenge on day 13, and I've already kind of moved on from it. So I feel like 2 weeks to read 3 books, honestly, that's pretty good, at least for me. I know that when I'm in a reading slump, I can take months to read a single book, so you know what, I'm gonna take it. But yes, thank you so much for watching this video. If you are in a reading slump as well, I hope these tips could kind of help you out, or if you get into a reading slump, you know, maybe help you out in the future. But yeah, make sure to go ahead and like this video and subscribe if you want to see more awesome, epic, cool, amazing videos just like this in the future. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next video. Bye everyone!